And you know what time it is? It's time for KP's Video News. KP's Video News, y'all.
That's right, folks. Ballot's here. Can't wait. Vote early. Vote. It's easy. Vote early. That's right, folks. You got to get out there and vote, especially after that debacle that we saw last night. Man, as to quote several people that came out today, Joe Biden, and also I believe it was Mitt Romney and a few other people came out and said what a embarrassment, a national embarrassment Trump was, and what a disaster that debate was last night because of Trump, having throwing the temper tantrums and acting the idiot, man. I mean, he just completely acted a total fool. And I mean, but hey, that's what he is. It's like he revealed exactly who he is. He doesn't have the temperament to be a successful leader in this country. So it's time to vote him out. It's time for him to go. So now they're even talking about whether they should have a cutoff switch on the mics because he went so crazy, man. He just interrupted Biden every time he tried to talk. And, everybody, you get 2 minutes to talk, then the other person gets 2 minutes to talk. And if you're interrupting that person's time, that means they're not getting their full amount of time to respond to the questions. So they got to come up with some new rules here. So the debate commission is talking about coming up with something. Hopefully, maybe they might put that cutoff switch over there because they definitely going to need it because Trump, he ain't going to follow the rules. Man, what a debate. I mean, what a real disgrace to watch that foolishness. And it was a disgraceful display. The president repeatedly disrupted the proceedings with a deluge of lies, and Joe Biden tried appealing to the American people with reason while occasionally getting dragged into the mud, along with with the stupidity that Trump was pulling off. And wow. So there's a George Bernard Shaw quote that speaks to the dangers of debating Trump, and it said, "I learned a long time ago never to wrestle with a pig. The adage goes, you get dirty, and besides, the pig likes it." No matter what happened in Cleveland on Tuesday night, Joe Biden was always going to wind up with at least a little bit of mud on him. And by the end of the night, he was covered with mud, just dealing with the stupidity that Trump was throwing out, all the lies, and I mean, he turned it into a complete fiasco, man. Grotesque, impossible to watch, bickering match led by a president who bulldozed over the moderator and his opponent with a deluge of familiar lies, empty boasts, and rage. Biden, oftentimes seemed at a loss how to even respond to the foolishness, and he was frustrated, irritated, and in disbelief. The former vice president mostly sought to avoid the hostile confrontations, and Trump seemed intent on provoking. It was often to Biden's detriment, and he spoke truth where Trump lied and lied and lied and lied, and expressed reason where his opponent engaged in a typical fanciful thinking, but his measure did little to drain the heavy flow of Trump's lies. And so the occasion when Biden allowed some of his anger to show through after Trump bragged about he brought back football and what was supposed to be a serious line of questioning about the COVID crisis, this claimed more than 200,000 American lives, when Biden allowed himself to call Trump a clown, when he said that Trump was the worst president America has ever had, when he lamented to his opponents relentless yapping, it was cathartic. I'm telling you, the Democrat, feeling the words in his bones, delivered those rebukes with far greater gusto and a few efforts to fact check his opponents in real time. Will you shut up, man? Exasperated, Biden asked in the early going as Trump provided running commentary of his answers. And strong too were the moments when Biden gave up engaging in Trump's petty squabbling and spoke directly into the camera to the American people. Under this president, Biden said, during a particularly strong indictment of the president, we've become weaker, sicker, poorer, more divided, and more violent. And that's what you get when you're dealing with, this situation. Trump, he attacked Chris Wallace. Chris Wallace was the moderator. He cut the moderator off. So if the moderator is the person that's supposed to be in charge of what's going on, oh boy, Trump told the average lies, about what a great guy he is, and he's a lot of law and order, this and that, and he's a great job. Nobody else has done a better job, blah, 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 blah. And it's all propaganda, all nonsense. And when they, asked the question about white supremacy, what did Trump do? He actually endorsed white supremacy. He didn't denounce it, he endorsed it. So, we have got to get this guy out no matter what. And it's clear. If anybody's on the fence out there, it should be clear right now that Trump is not the one for the job. It should have been based, it was out there for you to see. And so now, that's part one. I'm going back. This is second part of my story here. And Trump labeled black voters a deterrence in 2016. So in 2016, Donald Trump's presidential campaign reportedly sought to deter. In other words, deter means to stop millions of African Americans from voting by targeting them with misleading advertisements on Facebook, according to investigation broadcast Monday. So, investigation revealed that Trump's 2016 digital team used data to separate voters into 8 different audiences and target them with tailored advertisements. About 3.5 million black voters were categorized as a deterrence, or voters who were not likely to vote for Trump and could potentially be deterred from voting at all. So pay attention, people. You're getting those pop-ups that are popping up on your Facebook pages and stuff like that, trying to tell you that, don't, mail-in voting is a fraud and all that. Don't believe all this garbage. Don't believe it. This is all propaganda. Propaganda. And so it's been alleged that the Trump campaign attempted to dissuade black voters from backing. This was back at the last election, 2016, by targeting them with advertisements that misstated Hillary Clinton's record on racial issues. The Trump campaign dismissed the story, claiming, of course, fake news. The news comes as Facebook already faces backlash for widespread misinformation and misleading advertisements on its platform. And Trump is faring badly again with black voters in 2020, with single-digit support and a cache of data on almost 200 million American voters obtained showed that African Americans were disproportionately included in the deterrence category again in 16 key battleground states, some of which Trump won by a small margin in 2016. But this year, they're going at it again. In Georgia, black voters make up 32% of the population, but accounted for 61% of the deterrence category. In North Carolina, black voters made up 46% of that category, and even though they are 22% of the state's population. In Wisconsin, they constitute 5.4% of the population, but 17% were labeled a deterrence. More than half of the voters in the deterrence category were people of color, the investigation found. And the campaign also targeted African American voters through Facebook dark posts, non-public posts whose viewership the campaign controls. So this is like you gotta follow this. You gotta wake up, people. Wake up and don't be stupid. Don't be falling for these tricks. And I noticed what he did last week. He went down to Atlanta and tried. This is something they did a few months ago, and they're doing it again. Trump went to Atlanta last week for this group of black pastors down there. And the last time what he did was he gave those black pastors money. He literally gave them money to pass out to the people in his church to get them to vote for Trump. So this is totally illegal, totally illegal. Don't fall for it, people. I'm asking, begging you, please do not fall for this. It's illegal for anybody to pay you to vote for somebody. And they were literally passing out cash in envelopes. So this is part 3 of the story, and this is what happened as a result of his last crusade. Trump, he said, what the hell did I do? Trump went outhouse crazy when the criminal justice reforms failed to improve his polling with black voters. And Trump reportedly scolded his senior aides after criminal and justice reform passed under his administration failed to energize black voters. So why the hell did I do that? Trump said, according to his administrative officials who spoke with the media. Trump has tried to boost his standing among black voters, though polling figures show he's trailing Democratic National Committee nominee Joe Biden in terms of support. Trump repeatedly went outhouse crazy after criminal justice policy he implemented failed to improve his polling numbers against black voters. Why the hell did I do that? Trump yelled at his senior aides. Current and former administration officials stated. The legislation in question, called First Step Act, aimed to tackle major racial disparities in the prison system that disproportionately affects black people as a result of decades-long mass incarceration. Since the bill passed in 2018, about 4,700 incarcerated people have been released. 4,700 people out of what, 3 million? Out of 3 million people that are incarcerated? Yeah, that don't even sound like a drop in the bucket if you ask me. Anyway, Trump initially refused to support the initiative and changed his mind only when senior aides informed him that would better his weak standing with black voters. The move didn't have the intended effect, however, driving the president crazy, an ex-Trump administration stated. And so you've been at this for 4 months, and so he went crazy. That's the reason why he fired Omarosa. It was also stated that he scolded his then advisor Omarosa Manigault for working to increase funding for historically black colleges and universities because the move failed to garner support among black voters. And Manigault Newman served for the start of his presidency in 2002, December 2017. He said, "You've been at this for 4 months, Omarosa," Trump stated, according to the Post, "but the numbers haven't budged." Critics have said Trump works to benefit his re-election purposes, not this country. His former National Security Advisor John Bolton, for example, has previously stated Trump has manipulated the powers of his office to increase his chances of winning a second term. Democrats have made similar allegations, which were the key during the president's impeachment proceedings. Trump has long fared poorly with black voters despite his attempts to appeal to the electorate. Exit polling showed he had gained 8% of their vote in 2016, and hopefully we can get that down to 2%. This dude's got to go, man. He's got to go. He's telling you one thing about, yeah, I'm trying to help black people get out of jail, but when Jeff Sessions was the Attorney General, what Jeff Sessions did was he reverted all of those sentencing laws that Obama had overturned. Jeff Sessions came along and put all of those mandatory minimum sentences, like 5 years for a crack rock, and all these things that affect black people directly. He put all of those laws back on the books. mandatory 25 years if you caught with a certain amount of cocaine, and all these other laws that don't affect white people, but they affect blacks and other minorities in a negative manner. So he can't say that you're doing one thing on one hand when your attorney general did the exact opposite. And the other attorney general you have in there, William Barr, was the one that initially created and came up with the initiative to increase the jail population. And that was way back in the early 90s, in 1990. So now you got that person that came up with the recommendation to not only increase the numbers of people that are going to prison, but also to make a profit off the prison system. And that's when the for-profit prison system went into effect and basically sprouted up all over the country. So they have state penitentiaries, federal penitentiaries, and you also have private-owned penitentiaries. And all this was done because of Barr and his cronies. They came along with these rules and regulations for private-owned penitentiaries. So this is what you got to do, man. It's time. The D.C. dunce has got to go. You got to go. So this is another DeJoy, the Postmaster DeJoy, and Trump lose a third time. They lose a third time in federal court as the Postal Service works to undo the sabotage. For the third time in a matter of weeks, the federal court has warned that the sabotage at the U.S. Postal Service at the hands of Postmaster General Louis DeJoy is politically motivated and aimed at crippling the United States Postal Service's work in helping secure a free and clear election. The U.S. District Judge Emmett Sullivan in Washington, D.C. ordered DeJoy to halt implementing the changes that have resulted in mail delivery delays nationwide. This his third such ruling. A fourth case was heard last week in Pennsylvania. At this point, DeJoy is enjoined from continuing his trucks on time delivery restrictions that have upended the system, leaving mail behind for days and sometimes weeks, and resulting in empty trucks leaving distribution centers when they could have been loaded according to schedule. He has been ordered to stop removing mail sorting machines and collection boxes now by 3 courts, and all accounts has halted these operational changes. This is a clear demonstration of why independent courts are so vital to the nation as you're going to get, because every judge who has intervened has called out the blatant politicization of the institution by Trump and DeJoy. It's clearly in the public interest to mitigate the spread of COVID-19, to ensure safe alternatives to in-person voting, and to require that the U.S. Postal Service comply with the law, Sullivan wrote. And it's definitely against the law. It is against the law. Against the law, people. It's against the law to delay the mail. That's a federal crime. And they need to lock DeJoy up. It's a federal crime, and they need to charge him under that federal crime. And here's a new. This just came out. This is a new story. Just came out. Kentucky Attorney General did not recommend any murder charges for the Breonna Taylor grand jury. So Kentucky Attorney General Daniel Coon Cameron stated that he did not present any murder charges to the grand jury that was impaneled to hear the case of Breonna Taylor, the 26-year-old black woman who was killed by a trio of plainclothes Louisville police officers in her home back in March. In a sit-down interview, Cameron stated that his office found murder charges were not appropriate. And what he claims that they're an independent body, and if they wanted to make an assessment about different charges, they could have done that, Cameron said. But our recommendation was that officers Mattingly and Cosgrove were justified in their acts and their conduct, even though Mattingly and Cosgrove were officers that combined to shoot Taylor 6 times. It was announced last week that the grand jury had decided not to press any charges. The only charges that the grand jury decided upon were the 3 cases of wanton endangerment for former Officer Brett Hankerson. Hankerson was fired from the force in June, and it was found that he blindly fired 10 shots into Taylor's apartment. And I talked about this on my last case because it was a third apartment that bullets went through, but they never brought any charges up on that particular family, which just happened to be a black family that lived above Breonna Taylor. But the white family that lived next door to Breonna Taylor, those are the ones that they brought the 3 charges up on. 3 cases of wanton endangerment. So go figure. I'm telling you, man, this is it's crazy. That Kentucky Attorney General, so now he has a delay. He never sought murder charges, and now he's delayed from releasing the report. They want the governor of that state has given the Attorney General the okay to release the report so the people can see the report. So therefore he went in there today and filed for a delay on releasing the total report of what happened in this investigation. And this is my last story here. And it's a self-proclaimed white nationalist who gained recognition for participating in the 2017 deadly Charlottesville rally and later dubbed the Crying Nazi, was convicted in New Hampshire federal court Monday for extortion and threatening to rape another man's wife. Christopher Cantwell, 39, of Keene, was convicted of 1 count of transmitting extraordinary communications and 1 count of threatening to injure property or reputation. Cantwell, who maintained an active online presence, including operating a website and an internet call-in program, said members of the online group called the Bold Patrol had been harassing him online for months and posting pornography and other violent content to his website. Prosecutors said Cantwell reached out to the victim in the case, demanded that he disclose the real name of the Bold Patrol's leader, who used the pseudonym Vic Mackey, and prosecutors did not publish the identity of the victim, who has a wife and young children. The Bold Patrol group was inspired by the haircut of Dylan Roof, who was sentenced to death for fatally shooting 9 black church members during the Bible study in session in South Carolina. Cantwell threatened the victim by posting identifying information about him online and reporting the victim to child protection authorities if he didn't receive the information about Vic Mackey, though several messages sent between June 15th and June 17th using the Telegram messaging app. So if you don't want me to come and screw your wife in front of your kids, then you should make yourself scarce, one message Cantrell wrote. And this is a quote, said, "Give me Vic, it's your only out." Prosecutors said Cantwell followed through on some of his threats. On June 17th, he posted identifying information and photographs related to the victim and his family online that they said they could only call child protection authorities in Missouri, and made a report about the victim over alleged drug use and racist views. But an agency official testified at trial that he did not feel the complaint justified further investigation. Sending threatening and extraordinary messages over the internet can instill fear and emotional damage, said the U.S. Attorney Scott Murray. I'm grateful to the jury for weighing evidence in this case and finding that this defendant's disturbing conduct was unlawful. And I want to express my appreciation to the FBI and other law enforcement partners for doing their work investigating this case, and the conviction should send a message to all those who use the internet as a means of threatening people with a terrorist threat over the internet. And so the jury deliberated for a few hours following the 4-day trial. Cantwell faces up to 22 years in prison and will be sentenced on January 4th, 2021. He has been in custody since January 2020 and will remain held at Stafford County Jail. That's right. You got him, the crying Nazi. You got him. Lock him up. Lock him up. Give him them 22 years. That's what he want. You know, he wanted to be separated. So
Video news, y'all. KP Video News, y'all.